How's it going, YouTube? And that is right, it is time. We have another ruling video with myself, Robo Sushi, bringing you guys some interesting rulings that have come out in the BT8 format. I've been super excited to get this. We had pre-release this past week on Friday, and then on this Friday, we will have the official release. So we'll get some starter decks and stuff like that. I don't have any crazy rulings to go over the starter decks in particular, more so on like processes on how some effects should work in that deck. So I'm not going to worry about those cards today. Like I said, most of them I can cover with the rest of the cards that come out in the official set for BT8 and not worrying about the structure decks. So we will have all sorts of different rulings. This might be a little bit of a longer video. Gonna have some timestamps in this one. This one will be divvied up color based. I'm gonna try to maybe do this in 2 parts just because there are quite a few rulings that I need to go over. If I can do some of them faster, we may jam it into one, but don't be surprised if you see a second part. But before we hop into the rulings, I want to say thank you guys for all the continued support on these videos. If you are enjoying the content and you are new here, be sure to subscribe to that channel. We will have more rulings, and we got some gameplay coming your way now too that were in the BT8 format, and some deck profiles after the format officially comes out and I have all the cards. I have most of the cards, not all of them yet. Hit that notification bell so you know when these ruling videos, gameplays, videos, and such go live, and then leave a comment down below on some more rulings that maybe you guys think would be interesting to go over that maybe I didn't go over here. Maybe something you had pop up at pre-release that you would like to know a little bit more on that maybe I don't quite cover, smaller things, or stuff that I can maybe put into another video. Just be sure to leave those down in the comment below, and I'll be happy to answer them or put them into the next video and give you a better explanation there. But with all that being said, guys, let's go ahead and hop into our first ruling. All right, everyone, so into our first ruling here. This is going to be the first ruling for red. I only have 2 rulings for red that are going to be important to go over. So without further ado, let's hop into the first one. This is our board state. We have a Toy Agumon. This could be any other Digimon. We have a Halsamon with a Hawkmon underneath. This could really just be any Digimon that has Armor Purge. That's the important thing for this example. And we have Master Tyrannomon. This could also just be any level 5. We only use it for legal board state purposes. And in our hand, we have the card I know I'm going to mispronounce, so I'm going to call it the Red Chicken. So what this card does, Red Chicken, it'll be up on screen, is when Digivolving, your opponent will choose 1 Digimon, and then all other Digimon on the field will be deleted. Your side and all their Digimon other than the chosen Digimon and the Red Chicken. And then you will gain a memory for every Digimon deleted by this effect. And then your turn effect is you'll gain security attack +1 for each Digimon deleted, whenever one of your opponent's Digimon is deleted, I should say. So this is our board state. We have this in hand. We're at 4 memory. We decide to go ahead and Digivolve into Red Chicken, paying the memory cost going to 1. This is important because of how this would work. So in this situation, your opponent now has to choose. You've triggered your Wind Digivolving effect. Your opponent chooses which Digimon to keep alive. In this situation, they're going to choose Toy Agumon. So now, Red Chicken will try to destroy the rest of the board via this effect. But Halsamon has Armor Purge, or whatever Digimon it is, it has Armor Purge. So you will prevent the deletion with Armor Purge, and now the Hawkmon is alive. Since the Hawkmon was not deleted because it used Armor Purge to keep itself from being deleted, you will not gain the memory off of this effect. In fact, you will not gain any security attack either. You've prevented all the deletions, so no Digimon is deleted. So Armor Purge to keep this one alive and this one, and now your board's empty. You only have this. Since nothing was deleted, you will gain no memory. Another small example to go over with this is, say, Decoy. If you had, let's say this was a Decoy Red, and then you had Hawkmon and then this Digimon, you Digivolve into this guy, try to go ahead, it's still 4 to 1. You'll select Toy Agumon, you'll have Hawkmon, you'll choose to activate Decoy, keeping the Hawkmon alive. In that situation, the Hawkmon was not deleted, and since the deleted Decoy Digimon was not deleted by the effect of the Red Chicken, you will not gain the memory. You have to specifically get deleted by the effect of this Digimon. You will be able to gain the security attack because all that entails is one of your opponent's Digimon being deleted. But if you pass turn, does that really matter? So the decoy thing is something that may come up, especially for stuff like Diaboromon. I know people are still going to try to jam Diaboromon in this format. Trust me, I know plenty of people. But the decoy one comes up, but Armor Purge is going to be something that shows up a little bit more often if this card is ran. So I felt like it was important to go over. The next card we have to go over for red is the option card for the previously stated Digimon, Crimson Blaze. Strong effect, you reduce its play cost, or you reduce the cost to use this option by 1 for every Digimon your opponent has on their side of the field, and then you delete all Digimon with 6,000 DP or less, and then your opponent is not allowed to play Digimon via effects until the end of their next turn. When you use this on your turn, like let's say it's this current player's turn, they decide to use the option card deleting Toy Agumon. If they don't pass turn, then for this current turn that they have, if let's say they check a security Digimon, no security Digimon will be able to be played. It will just go to the trash because of the effect of Crimson Blaze. If it passes back over to their turn, they decide to go into something like a Mastemon. They will not be able to play a Digimon out of their security via the effect of Mastemon because of the effect of Crimson Blaze. Now, the one thing that I want to note here is its security effect is the main part for this ruling. Out of security, you activate this card's main effect. That leads to a few misnomers on how the card would work. So instead of it coming out of security, let's say you swing in with the Toy Agumon, you check this out of security and the board is deleted, and you activate the effect of Crimson Blaze to keep your opponent from playing Digimon until the end of their next turn, is what the card says. How it is properly ruled, unfortunately, other than what it says, is it doesn't freeze your opponent for that turn, your next turn, the other next turn, and then back over to the turn. So in that situation, the way it's worded makes it seem like you would be frozen for 2 entire turns from playing out Digimon via effects. But really, when it's checked out of security, the player that checks it out of security with their attack, they just can't play Digimon via effects for the rest of that current turn. Once it goes back over to the opponent's side, the effect no longer lingers and it doesn't keep you from playing Digimon. So unless your opponent would play another one, then if they swing in and check a security Digimon, that Digimon will in fact be able to play itself because they are no longer on the effect of Crimson Blaze because it does not linger for extra turns like it may seem like it says. This is a issue that I've had come up for a few times. It happened at pre-release. But it's also happened in playtesting. So just know that that's how this is ruled. If you have any other questions about it, you can ask it in the comments or you can go to the judge server. But if you look on the official wiki and you want to see how it's read in the Q&A, it might also be on the Q&A that they posted, just to know that this effect does not linger and it is an official Bandai ruling. So it's unfortunate that's worded that way, but that's how it them's the break sometimes. Alright everyone, so now that we finished our red rulings, we're going to go ahead and hop into one of our first blue rulings. Now, in this situation, we have our deck right here, we have 2 security, and we have 2 of the new BT8 Angemon. This card states, your turn when this Digimon would Digivolve, important right there. If you have 3 or fewer security, recover 1 from your deck. So in this situation, it's going to basically go over the timing of when you draw and when you recover with Angemon. So in this situation, you'll go ahead and decide Angemon is going to Digivolve. So you declare Digivolve. You basically reveal the Shakomon. Your Angemon is going to Digivolve. This is when Angemon's effect would interrupt the Digivolution process. So it knows it's Digivolving. You are at 3 or fewer security. Recover 1 first. And then you finish your Digivolution, Digivolving into Shakomon, drawing your extra card for Digivolve. Shakomon's effect will then trigger, and you will recover 1 for its when Digivolving effect. So that's important to know about when you Digivolve and when you draw, when you recover and when you draw via this effect. So now I have 2 on the field because in this situation we have 2 security and we have 2 on the field. The same happens if you decide to DNA Digivolve into this Shakomon. So what's going to happen is you're going to declare DNA Digivolve, then you're going to have both of these interruptive effects of the Angemon trigger, and then Angemon 1 will recover before you Digivolve. Angemon 2 notices you're still at 3 security, so its effect can still activate and resolve properly, and then you'll recover again. It's at this point they will be successfully stacked on top of each other in the yellow to red, blue fashion. They're both multicolor, so it doesn't matter which order you stack either of them in. And then you will now draw for your DNA Digivolve, and then Shakomon's effect will recover, and now you are back up to 5 security. It's just a really important thing because in some decks, I guess you could have, like if you have Izzy incorporated, the BT4 Izzy, so you know what's on the top of your deck, you may want to stack those cards in a specific example if you have both of these on the field or one of these on the field, and you want to know which one you recover and which one you draw. So it's important to know exactly the timing on how the draw and recover works for this specific Digimon. Alright everyone, so on to our next blue ruling. You're going to notice we don't have as many blue cards, but we do have Davis and Ken, and since its first color is blue, I'm going to throw it in the blue section. What we're worried about here for this ruling is Ken's effect, or Davis and Ken's effect, is when one of your Digimon digivolves into a Digimon with 2 or more colors, you may suspend this tamer to unsuspend that Digimon. We have a Rapidmon on the field. This could be any Digimon, really doesn't matter as long as it's a level 4. And then we have a Chimeramon in hand. Now, it's important to note what Chimeramon's Your Turn effect is, and it says this Digimon is treated as all the colors of its Digivolution sources. And then if it has 4 or more sources, or 4 more colors, it will gain plus 4,000 DP. So for this example, and the important thing here is we swing in with Rapidmon. Rapidmon survives the check, and then we decide, let's say we're at 4 memory, so we don't pass turn, or we're not. Either way, we Digivolve into Chimeramon, paying the memory cost. And now, at the point of Digivolve, it is still your turn, or it is your turn in general when you Digivolve. So Chimeramon is considered to be white, yellow, and green. It's considered to have all the colors in its sources. So it meets the trigger condition for Davis and Ken. So Davis and Ken can suspend to unsuspend the Chimeramon successfully, because at the time of Digivolve, it is already considered to be all the colors underneath its sources plus itself. So in this case, 3 colors. This is different than, say, something like Betsumon. Now, this is a card that not a lot of people may have seen unless they played in pre-release, because it doesn't pop up a lot in a lot of deck lists, but it says when Digivolving, you may trash 1 card from your hand to treat this Digimon as also having the colors of the trash card. Then this Digimon has 2 or more colors, you can draw 2. So in this situation, let's say we Digivolve Rapidmon into Betsumon. After the Digivolve has finished, now is the point where you would trigger when Digivolving effects and Ken and Davis effects. That's the point that Ken and Davis triggers, is after it has successfully Digivolved. It doesn't worry about any of the effects. It can't trigger after the effect. So here, Betsumon is only yellow. So it misses the ability. So Davis and Ken cannot suspend itself. Even if you activate the effect of Betsumon, say trashing a Chimeramon from your hand, making it yellow and white, it has already passed the when Digivolve timing, so you will not be able to suspend Davis and Ken to unsuspend the Betsumon. So that's the little bit of a difference. The fact that Betsumon is on a condition to gain that extra color, whereas Chimeramon has it the second it exists on the field and it is Digivolved. So you don't have to worry about resolving the effects to make sure it has all those colors. An important thing to come up, because I think Chimeramon's going to show up in a few lists, so I did want to go over it, especially if people splash Davis and Ken into other lists as well. Alright everyone, so now we're going to move on to our next set of rulings, and this is going to be basically a general section on Armor Purge. It's going to be in the blue section just because of the fact that, or right after the blue section, because of the fact that it involves mainly blue cards. Most of the Armor Purge cards that you're going to see are going to be in blue because of like VMon Armor Rush. So we're just going to put it after that section. If you guys want to know a little bit more about how Armor Purge works technically, and how just some easy beginner stuff, I do have a video I'll put in the link below or description below that just goes over basic BT8 rulings. So right now our board state is going to look like this for this first example. It's going to be our opponent's turn. They're going to have an Armadillomon and we'll have a Halsamon on our side of the field, and it will be suspended. So now our opponent decides to go ahead and Digivolve into Rapidmon. Yellow Rapidmon states that whenever you Digivolve into this Digimon, you suspend one of your opponent's Digimon for every tamer they have in play, without having to worry about putting tamers on the field. That's why I put the Halsamon in suspended, because then all up to 3 of your opponent's suspended Digimon will get negative 5,000 DP for the turn. So in this situation, Rapidmon will go ahead and give neg 5 to Halsamon. Halsamon will then notice that it is at, or the game will notice that Halsamon is at 0 DP via game mechanics, and then rules processing, I should say, and then it will try to delete Halsamon. You can, if you wish, to Armor Purge away the Halsamon to prevent its deletion, but that negative 5,000 DP will still persist, and then it will last onto the Patamon, and then the Patamon will be deleted. The reason why I wanted to bring this up is because it also comes into a situation where people think, what about something like armor texture? So in this, for this follow-up example, we're going to have the Patamon with a Magnamon on the field, and then our opponent's going to have the Rapidmon with a Halsamon. It is going to be their turn. And then our opponent decides, let's go ahead and DNA Digivolve into a Chimeramon. Now, in this stack of Chimeramon, we'll have 5 colors. If you know what Chimeramon's effect states, is basically for every color in this Digimon's Digivolution source, or for every color this Digimon is when it Digivolves, it will give your opponent's, up to 4 of your opponent's Digimon, negative DP 1 times 1,000 for every Digimon or every color you have. So in this situation, he is white, red, blue, green, and yellow. That's 5 separate colors. You do count the white. So all of my Digimon on this side of the field will get negative 5,000 DP until the end of my next turn. So it does persist a little bit longer than other DP reductions. And then of course Chimeramon will then, if he's at 4 or more security, have 12,000 DP. He'll gain an extra 4 and he'll be considered all colors in his sources. So anyway, they finish their turn up. We keep the Magnamon on our side of the field. Magnamon is now at 2k DP. We decide to go ahead and activate Armor Texture. Now, for those of you that may not know, Armor Texture is a 0-cost white option that you can ignore its color requirements if you have a Digimon with Armor form on the field. And then trash the top card of one of your Digimon with Armor form to then Digivolve one of your Digimon into a Digimon with Armor in its form from your hand, paying its Digivolution cost. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and purge away the Magnadramon, or the Magnamon, and then we're going to Digivolve Patamon into another Magnamon. Well, the Magnamon had negative 5,000 DP. What about this Patamon? It still has it. Will it be deleted? And that is no. You will finish resolving all the effects of Armor Texture. If you decide to do the first part of Armor Texture by trashing the top card and then stop right there because the next section is a May, then yes, the Patamon will be deleted. But if you continue resolving the effect and Digivolve into another Magnamon, the Magnamon will not be at 0 DP after the effect has finished resolving, so then you will not lose the Patamon. You have to finish resolving the effect of Armor Texture first. So that's it for that ruling. Now we're going to move on to another Armor Texture ruling, and in this situation we're going to have a similar thing set up. Let's say we have the Magnamon or the Halsamon with a Patamon in source, and then let's assume our opponent has a Digimon with enough sources and they Digivolve into Metal Garurumon from BT8. Now for those of you that don't know, this Digimon is a Digiburst Digimon that states whenever it Digivolves you may Digiburst 2, and then you can delete one of your opponent's Digimon with a play cost of 6 or less, or if no Digimon is deleted by that effect, trash the top card of your opponent's security. This is an interesting one that I just wanted to mention. It's not going to come up a whole lot because I don't think this card will see a ton of play, but it is an interesting ruling nonetheless. So in this situation, Metal Garurumon will Digiburst away when it Digivolves, assuming that it has sources, and then enough sources, and then it will try to delete a Digimon with 6 cost or less. Well, Halsamon is 6 cost or less, so it's 5 cost. So the target will target the Halsamon. Now, maybe you want to keep your Halsamon alive, so you activate Armor Purge, interrupting the effect to keep it alive without being deleted. Now, since a Digimon was not deleted via the effect of Metal Garurumon, you will then trash the top card of your security. Remember that the card states if a Digimon is not deleted by this effect, trash the top card of your opponent's security. So you interrupt it with this interruptive effect, basically, to purge it to prevent the deletion, and since it wasn't deleted, then the second half of Metal Garurumon's effect will go off. Even though it had a target for the first part, nothing was deleted, so the second part will then resolve and then trash the top card of your security. So that's another important thing to know. Maybe not come up a whole often because this card doesn't see a lot of play, but interesting ruling nonetheless. The last Armor Texture ruling I have, or the Armor Purge ruling I have to go over, is going to be this. We have this is our side of the field, Halsamon and Patamon, and our opponent has a Chaosmon. Now, this really could be any Digimon that is bigger than Halsamon that has piercing. That's all that really matters for this example. So what we're going to have here is our opponent is going to attack with piercing at Halsamon. And then, of course, it loses the battle because Halsamon is only 5k, Chaosmon is 14k. Halsamon will then be able to trigger its Armor Purge effect to prevent its deletion. So you would delete the Halsamon, or trash the top card of the source, and leave the Patamon left, and this prevents the deletion of Halsamon. This also prevents piercing from triggering. Remember that the text on piercing makes it so that you have to successfully delete the Digimon to be able to trigger and activate piercing. Since the Digimon, the Halsamon, wasn't effectively deleted, it prevented its deletion via Armor Purge, then the Chaosmon will not be able to trigger its piercing and check any security afterwards. This is a ruling that came up with Machinedramon from EX because it could prevent its deletion by trashing 2 sources, but this is another one that is going to come up more often with piercing effects because Armor Purge is going to be a little bit more commonplace, in my opinion, than, say, the Machinedramon. So that'll pretty much do it for most of our Armor Purge rulings. All right, everyone. So we're going to go ahead and hop over into green rulings. I kind of went over that Betsumon ruling at the end of the Chimeramon blue rulings because it was the only yellow card I really had anything to go over for this video. So I wanted to go ahead and hop into the green rulings because this is the star of the show for the rulings that I wanted to go over for this video. This is a ruling I learned about and I just think it's absolutely insane, and I love it because it involves specific how the turn order actually works that most people don't even think about, but in this situation causes a very funny interaction, and it's why it's on the thumbnail of the video and the title. So in this situation, this is our board state. We have two Kari Kamiyas on our side of the field. Kari Kamiya states when this Digimon is removed from when a card is removed from your security stack, you may suspend this tamer to gain 1 memory. We have 2 security, and our opponent has a suspended Shivamon. So for those of you that don't know, newer card, opponent's turn, when all of your Digimon are suspended, your opponent can't use option cards. This means that you can't legally use them, period. You can't even reveal them from your hand, you can't do anything. They're illegal cards to use as long as their whole board is suspended. Then your turn, when this Digimon becomes unsuspended during your unsuspend phase, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. We have 2 security. We have ended our turn and our opponent is now at 1 memory. Now, this is important to know how your phases work in Digimon. It starts off with unsuspend, draw, breeding phase, main phase, and then end of the turn. So in this situation, the first thing to happen before anything else is the unsuspend phase. So our opponent unsuspends Shivamon. This will trigger Shivamon's your turn effect. He is unsuspended during the unsuspend phase, trashing the top card of the security. Now, the trashing of the top card of security causes the Karis to trigger. So then you'll suspend both Karis, gaining 2 memory, passing the turn over to your opponent, passing the turn back over from the person who is playing Shivamon. This skips everything else. This skips the draw phase, this skips the raising phase, this skips the main phase, and then it goes straight to end of turn. So if there's any end of turn effects, sure, you can trigger those and then turn can pass back over. But if they don't, and this is the simplified board state, then you effectively pass turn back over to 1 on your opponent's side, and you skip everything. They don't get a draw, they don't get to hatch or raise, they don't get to do anything on their main phase like attack with Shivamon. All of that gets skipped because you go straight from unsuspend phase to memory on your opponent's side of the field. So now it's your turn, you unsuspend your Karis, and you continue your plays. I just love the fact that their own card in this situation, if you have 2 Kari Kamiyas on your side of the field from BT4, means that the mandatory effect to have to unsuspend Shivamon and shred an opponent's security causes them to just completely miss their turn. And that is the best, if not one of the best, or one of the best, if not the best, ruling that I have ever seen, and I just love it, and it had to be gone over for this video. It was the one I was most excited to go over, and it's funny how you would think a beneficial effect for you ends up causing you detriment and making you lose a turn. And if you can replicate it multiple times, then effectively you can make it so where your opponent never gets a turn if they can keep their Shivamon suspended, and you can keep on passing them over to 1 memory. So I don't think it'll happen a whole lot, but it's a crazy interaction I had to go over. Alright everyone, so on to our last little green ruling. This one is going to involve the Shivamon option Samadhi Santi. I'm a little bit more confident in that one, even if I don't pronounce it exactly correct. It's better than how I would have pronounced red chicken and offended a whole lot of people. But in this situation, Samadhi Santi states, you may suspend one of your Digimon to suspend one of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers. Your opponent's cards suspended with this effect can't unsuspend during the end of your next turn. The only thing I really wanted to go over here is in a situation where, let's say, your opponent only has a Chimeramon on their side of the field, and it's already suspended. So you use Samadhi Santi, you suspend your Shivamon, you can still target the Chimeramon to be suspended. This works with, say, Dino B from the structure deck. If you DNA Digivolve into Dino Bmon, you are able to target a suspended Digimon to suspend, and then since it was the target of that effect, it will not unsuspend during the unsuspend phase if it was DNA Digivolved. Samadhi Santi works a little bit differently, because even if you want to do it to suspend your Shivamon to suspend their Chimeramon that is already suspended, the Chimeramon will be able to unsuspend during their unsuspend phase. specifically for the reason that Samadhi Santi states that it has to be suspended by this card's effect. Was it targeted? Yes. But was it suspended by the effect? No. So because of that, at the beginning of their opponent's turn, they will be able to unsuspend the Chimeramon. Little bit different wording to keep it from, say, something like Dino Beamon or Mega Gargomon from keeping a specifically already suspended Digimon to keep it suspended onto the next phase, just because of how the wording has been adjusted. So, card that might pop up. I don't think Shivamon will do a whole lot in the competitive scene, but for locals and for maybe on the competitive scene, there are oil people who will play this card, and this is an interaction that may come up. Alright everyone, so that's all for our green rulings, so let's hop into our black rulings. Now, as many people are excited for, this is an X-Antibody set, so almost all the rulings that I'm going to go over today are going to involve the X-Antibody cards because they're the most impactful black cards listed. So what we're going to have here is we're going to have a situation like this that we're going to start off with. 2 Yuji Musha. For those of you who don't know, what we're worried about here is the Your Turn effect. When one of your black Digimon with X-Antibody in its traits attacks, you may suspend this Tabor to place one card with X-Antibody in its traits from your hand under that Digimon as its bottom Digivolution source. And what we have on our side of the field is a Hisaryumon. This is your turn when one of your effects is places a Digivolution card under this Digimon. This one is translated correctly, unlike Oriyumon. You may Digivolve this Digimon into a Digimon card in your hand with X-Antibody in its traits by paying its Digivolution cost. When this Digimon would Digivolve with this effect, reduce the Digivolution cost by 1. So in this situation, what we're going to have here is we're going to have Hisaryumon attack. We're going to suspend Yuji Musha, and we're going to throw an Oriyumon underneath the source. And then we're going to Digivolve, since we've successfully activated since we've added a source, we'll be able to trigger Hisaryumon's Your Turn effect, Digivolving into Dorugoromon. Now, I have had a situation where another video has been posted that basically states that the Dorugoromon will be able to activate its when attacking effect. That is very much not right. You can in fact trigger another Yuji Musha because the attack's still ongoing. You can add the source after the Digivolve if you choose, but you have already missed the timing of the when attacking effect. So since missing timing is weird in this game, I don't really like to call it that, but you have missed the window, I would say, to trigger his when attacking effect. The when attacking has to happen on attack declaration is when all when attacking effects trigger. Since the attack declaration has already happened, you've missed the trigger window for Dorugoromon's when attacking effect to trigger. And in this situation, you'd be able to trigger the other Yuji to add a source, but you will not be able to activate this when attacking effect because he wasn't the one attacking. The one attacking was Hisaryumon, so you will not be able to use this effect to add a source and delete another Digimon. This is an important thing to know because, you know, people are still going to run Dorugoromon and X-Antibody. This deck is going to be very popular in my opinion, and you could get an unfair advantage by being able to do this and then delete a board that you're not really legally supposed to be able to delete. So it's an important thing to go over, and I wanted to address it. Now, last but most certainly not least is going to be another X-Antibody list ruling, and this one is going to be a similar board state. We're going to have 2 Yuji Musha. We're going to have a Alphamon on field. I just have a Genryumon and Hisaryumon in the sources just to have this like legal, more recognizable X-Antibody stack. So what's going to happen here is this ruling is going to involve mandatory effects and mandatory once per turn effects. So what we have in hand is 2 copies of Oriyumon. So what we're worried about here with Oriyumon is its when end of attack inheritable once per turn if this Digimon has Alphamon in its name unsuspended. So in this situation, we decide to go ahead and declare our attack with Alphamon. This will trigger its when attacking effect and both of the Yuji's effects. We're not going to worry about Alphamon's when attacking effect. Let's say we just don't use it in this situation. And then we decide to use both Yuji's, and then we add one source, so we trigger one Yuji, suspend it, add an Oriyumon. We trigger the second Yuji, add another source, add a second Oriyumon. This is important, and it's going to kind of mess with how this interaction works. So the attack goes through, and then 3 things at the end of attack will trigger, assuming that, like I said, the Alphamon won't die. 3 things will trigger: the end of attack effect of Alphamon to gain 2 memory at the end of attack, and both Oriyumon's effects. Now, if you read the text on Oriyumon's inheritable, it says, if this Digimon has Alphamon in its name, unsuspend it at the end of attack. Mandatory effect. So we will unsuspend, triggering the first Alphamon will then resolve, we'll activate it, And then the second Oryumon effect for the Alphamon will resolve without effect, though, because you weren't able to, it wasn't able to unsuspend, but it did meet its proper trigger and activation requirements, so it will trigger and activate and finish resolving. Now, if you decide to attack again with Alphamon, it will not be able to unsuspend. You have used up the Oryumon's effects, both of them, even the one that resolved without an effect. This is similar to, again, another video that I'm going to go ahead and shamelessly plug here, the effect and attack resolution video, where I go over Imperial Dramon Dragon mode with the piercing and It's Your Turn effect, and a Paladin in the source from BT3. This is the same situation where you have to activate the mandatory effect. It is not a May. Now, I will say that there is a way to get around this, where let's say you have both of the UGs, you declare your attack with your Alphamon, you suspend your UG, you add the source with the Oryumon, you check the security, it survives, you have two triggers, you have Alphamon's trigger and Oryumon's inheritable trigger, you'll unsuspend, you'll gain the memory from the Alphamon, Oryumon is good. You'll swing the other Alphamon, suspend the second UG, and add the second Oryumon. It lives, you unsuspend, you will trigger. Now you've triggered Alphamon's effect again because it's not a once per turn effect, and the newly placed Oryumon gaining another 2 memory. So just know that if you want to do this shenanigans with Alphamon and be able to restand, swing, if you have 2 active Oryumons in the source and they're both there and you attack, you won't be able to unsuspend on a second concurrent attack because they're already existing. But if you add them after each attack with multiple UGs, then you will be able to, because the second one didn't exist when the first one finishes resolving, so you don't have to worry about resolving it without effect. Alright everyone, so that's it for our Black/X Antibody rulings. Now we're going to go into the only real purple ruling I have in particular for this one that I felt like was interesting to go over, and that's going to be a situation like this. We have a Digimon, doesn't matter what it is, with a Soulmon in the inheritable, and we have an Analog Youth in hand. So Soulmon, for those of you that may not know, is your turn once per turn. When a card is trashed from your deck, gain 1 memory. And then we have an Analog Youth, which is on play, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 Digimon card from among them, and trash the rest. This is mainly to explain that cards revealed that are then trashed are not considered trashed from the deck. So we would play the Analog Youth, reveal 3 cards from the top of our deck, and then we'll take the Digimon, so in this case we'll take the Gabumon, the only legal target, and then we'll trash the rest of them to the trash. These cards were never trashed from our deck directly. They were trashed after they had been revealed. Revealed cards kind of stay in this limbo state before they are then sent to the trash. This is different than, say, something like BT2 Impmon. Now, if we swing in with our Impmon, check security, and Impmon is deleted, Impmon says trash 3 cards from your deck. So you'll just take 3 cards and put them directly from your trash to your deck, or from your deck to your trash. And in that situation, since they went directly from the top of the deck to the trash, that's when Soulmon will trigger. So just know that if you use Analog Boy, reveal, and trash, those revealed cards aren't considered trash from the deck, so you will not be able to successfully activate the effect of Soulmon to gain a memory. Alright everyone, so on to our last ruling for the video that I want to go over. This is going to be on the only white card that I really wanted to go over by itself. Chimeramon was mixed in with the other colors, but this one in particular I feel like is important to go over because I've seen its effect used improperly several times, and I even, as the day of recording, I saw it used incorrectly, and it gave somebody a little bit of an advantage that they should not have had. So right off the bat, first off, what the card states, for those of you that don't know, what we're worried about here is its when digivolving, when attacking effect. You may return 1 2-color Digimon card from this Digimon's Digivolution cards to the bottom of its owner's deck to trash all the Digivolution cards of one of your opponent's Digimon. Period. Then return all of your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution cards to the bottom of the owner's deck. Now, unlike something like, say, Blinding Ray or Calling from Darkness, which say do X, as in trash a security or delete a Digimon, period, then do Y, which is for calling, or where blinding is gain 2 memory, and for calling is grab 2 Digimon cards. This is a do X to do Y, period, then do Z. In an effect like this, you have a cost that you have to pay at the start of the effect. The cost is returning the 2-color Digimon from the sources to the bottom of the deck. In situations like this, If you choose not to do A, then you can't do B or C. Of course you can't do B, but since the cost is involved in doing A, and it's not like a do this effect period, it's a do this effect then do something else, there's a cost for the whole effect entirely. So you will have to do C or have to do A in order to do C. A similar card to think about, I'm going to try to pop it up here on screen as I get it pulled up, is going to be BT3 Mummymon, I believe. I believe it's a BT3 card. For those of you that don't know, that card, I'll have it up on screen, states you may pay 3 memory to play 1 Melemiotismon from your trash without paying its memory cost, then delete this Digimon. To delete the Digimon in that scenario, you have to pay the 3 memory to then play the Melemiotismon. You pay the 3 memory to do B, so A, or let's do X, Y, and Z. You do X, pay the 3 memory to play the 1 Melo. That's Y, period. Then you do the third part. You have to do the third part because you've paid the cost for the rest of the effect. It's the same exact ruling. Note that it does not work the exact way that the blinding ray does, because if you think in Mummimon's effect, if you think of it the same way that blinding works, you attack with Mummymon, you don't do A, or you don't do X and Y, and then you would do C, and then you just, so anytime you swing with your Mummymon, it would have to die by that ruling. But that's not how it works. You don't have to do that last part, you have to do the first part. This is an important thing because if you don't do the first part and somebody tries to do the second part, it can lead to a highly unfair advantage. So to avoid that, make sure you know to do X, or if you do X to do Y, and then do Z, you have to do X to do Z. Important thing, card's gonna come up in the format, so I figured it was good to go over now. All right, everyone, and that will be the end of today's ruling video. A little bit of a longer one, but as I kind of expected it to be, since we're at the beginning of the format, I wanted to go over a decent amount of pertinent cards. I'm sure there's a few interesting things that I've missed, but if there are, be sure to leave a comment on the video. Let me know maybe some other interesting ones that you want me to go over, or just some smaller ones that I might be able to answer quick, like some easy stuff. If you aren't sure about some of the basic stuff, you can always go and refer to that basic BT8 ruling video that I put out a while back. But with all that being said, if you guys did enjoy the content, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new here. We will be having more of these coming out. Leave a like on the video, ding the bell when you know my stuff goes live, and as mentioned, leave comments so I know that you guys are interested in these and you have different rulings and other questions. I'm always happy to answer those in the comments down below. But with all that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. Best of luck in your regionals. The first one's coming up on the 29th, so get excited for that. Get your structure decks. They come out on Friday if you're in the local area. Check out Steel Fox Games. That's where I get all my product from, and I thought I'd give them a little plug here because they have helped me out in the past with getting some product. So thank you guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.